most of the time people fuel the hot and cold behavior.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize it, but because of the way that they are communicating, because of the way that they're seeking validation, they are giving their power away, and they're actually incentivizing their ex to, not be consistent and to play games a little bit. So I completely agree with that. And in many cases, the key is, of course, detaching, not focusing so much on what your ex does and how they're communicating with you or not communicating with you, and focusing on rebuilding that confidence and that sense of well-being, so that you are not so triggered by your ex's behavior, and actually you can start to enable your ex to change the way that they see you, the way that they communicate with you, and the way that they're basically treating you. But you need to learn to draw boundaries. Like, you can't just take whatever they give you or be okay with whatever behavior your ex is engaging with you in. And at some point you need to say enough is enough, and you need to have the confidence to pull away or to call them out and say, this is inappropriate behavior.
I love what you mentioned, because of course it's scary for you guys that will listen to us. We know that it's very scary, but there is a moment where we give the energy to people to keep control on us. If you react, or if you don't draw boundaries, if you are satisfied with the breadcrumbs that they are giving you, justified by the fact that you were not maybe the best partner, or you could have done a better job, at the end of the day, you won't be able to get your ex back. And that's the reason why we do this video, those podcasts. It's just because we want to share with you our wisdom, our experiences. And even if it's scary, if you try it, you will have different results and behavior from your ex. And that could be the number one action for the breakup recovery process. So it's not magical. It won't work like this. But if you lay the right foundation, you set boundaries, you understand that this hot and cold behavior, it's what makes your ex in control. If we stay in this situation, I want to hear your thought on this one. But if the ex is hot and cold and we stay in this dynamic, I think that that's when we cannot get an ex back, meaning that we will lose the ex on the long term.
I agree. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you talk about guilt. Guilt. That guilt that you talked about is a guilt that I also see in this one dear client of mine in the UAE. But I see that with a lot of people who are in these hot and cold behaviors. You feel guilty because you're replaying in your head all the mistakes that you've made, all the ways that you hurt your significant other. And so you now accept behavior that is unacceptable because you're guilty, because you feel guilty, because you realize how much you messed up and how you could have done better in the past. And it's important to learn from the past so that you can do better, be better, seek true, genuine forgiveness. But don't be a prisoner of the past and of your past mistakes, because you're going to push them away. And yes, we don't want to be a prisoner of the past and a prisoner of those feelings of guilt, because it makes you feel inadequate, and you're not going to be able to rebuild trust with your significant other.
Especially because your significant other will understand that when you feel guilty, they are in control. So they will want to use their words against you. I've seen so many exes saying like, oh, but you did this, you did that. I don't know if I can trust you. Yeah, you have changed, but what tells me that you won't do the same mistakes? And so the people that I coach, they stay in the same pattern. And so it's very interesting what you mentioned, because it's also coming from the ex. They will try to continue using the hot and cold behavior because it's what they feel more secure about. And it's not what we want, because our goal is to make them come back. So I want you to maybe leave a comment on podcast, YouTube, wherever you listen to this episode, but leave a comment to tell us if you still feel guilty. Because if it's the case, you will need some coaching. You will need to really receive help in order for you to move move so forward, sorry. Because if not, then you will continue to give them the control. And that's when they never come back. So you have to listen to that, guys. But I want to also suggest that the hot and cold behavior, in my opinion, shows to me that there is still something. I prefer the hot and cold behavior than the ghosting or the situation where they tell you and they repeat to you it's over. I still feel like if there is a response, even if it's a cold response, it shows to me that it's a sign of attention. What do you think of this?
I agree. I agree. A lot of times, your ex, it may happen on a subconscious level. They may not even realize that they still care. And that's why their actions and their words may not be in harmony. Or it could be a protective mechanism of some kind where they are aware, but they will not acknowledge it because they want to make sure that, there's a certain level of coherence between their decision and where they're at now. But ultimately, it is about your process of growth that will determine whether your ex is willing to give you another chance, not so much, where they're at or whatnot. But it's very interesting to me that in order to rebuild this new relationship, you have to be strong enough to not acquiesce to your ex's demands in some ways. And you have to have like a little bit of irrational confidence at some point in this process, because the hot and cold behavior can be very discouraging. You can tell yourself that, it's just not worth it, that they don't care, or, it's easy to give up. And those individuals who are able to really push forward or in a sane, healthy process of personal development, while also believing in the power of their love story, are the ones that are able to overcome that and the tests that come with the hot and cold behavior.